Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a Public Works podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. His name is Victor Vasquez, and he is the water quality specialist at the city of Morgan Hill in beautiful California. Victor, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, how's it all going, man? A little nervous right here hearing it, but yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys enjoy this.
For sure, man. All right, so let's talk about a water quality specialist. I'm sure that, that title, it's kind of vague. We all kind of know what water quality is, and we might know what a specialist is, but give us the rundown of what a water quality specialist does for the city of Morgan Hill.
Oh man, so within the scope of what I do, it's pretty broad. It's definitely kind of vague, and but once you get into it, there's so many different components. So the way the water quality specialist is here for the city is that anything that involves water quality, basically. So whether that's sampling, whether it's backflow and cross connection, like compliance, whether that's reaching out to the state and reaching out to our engineers, anything that falls under water quality basically falls underneath my watch. So for us, I'm a one-man department. I like to think I kind of cover quite a bit of things, a lot of hats. Yeah.
Okay. When we first met, so when I was selling Vector trucks, you're at the city of Morgan Hill. Morgan Hill was kind of I would say a sleepier suburb of San Jose, down there in the South Bay. Can you give us a rundown of what the town of Morgan Hill, city of Morgan Hill looks like, kind of the population, I guess, how many lift stations, manholes, whatever, just to kind of give people a scope of what you're working with?
Yeah, so Morgan Hill, probably about 20 minutes south of San Jose, California. So definitely a suburb. It's growing, just like most of the suburbs, I feel like, across California, if not the country. Constantly growing. So we've probably come from right about 10,000, 11,000 services, say about 7-8 years ago, to now we're at 15,000 on our most recent reporting. So I mean, definitely growing. Lots of development. It's pretty nice. I mean, we get athletes will live out here for local sports teams.
Yeah.
It's just one of those kind of nicer, quiet places. As far as our distribution system and what we look like from the operations side, we have 16 wells. We're expanding. We have 13 reservoirs. Again, expanding as well. So as as I mentioned there's a couple things in the works. There's one of our new reservoirs being built. We have a couple projects, new wells. We might have 2 new wells here in the next 5 to 6 years, hopefully. And let's see, as far as the lift station and sewer side, let's see, we have, I want to say it's 14 lift stations. Miles, I can't even know. I wouldn't know the miles off the top of my head as far as pipelines and stuff, so I apologize.
All good. Real quick, can we try with the AirPods out as I ask the tee up this next question? All right, so Victor, give us kind of a timeline of how long you've been with the city, and then also give us the rundown of how long you've been in the industry, your career path from high school all the way up until today.
Sure. So just from the beginning, I guess, high school, I just had different jobs afterwards. Worked in retail for a little bit, worked at Levi's. So, Levi's jeans, tried and true, baby. Worked for a towel company prior to getting into water. Just kind of wanted some more for a towel company in a warehouse. So it's a small company called Fire Clay Tile out here in California. Really enjoyed my time there. They wanted to promote me at the time. I was probably in my early 20s. And then just kind of not really satisfied, making those wages and things I wanted to see in my future, as far as having a family and being able to provide for them, and having a better life, if you will. I kind of figured that wasn't gonna really cut it for me. So my girlfriend, who's my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, my father-in-law was a laborer for 30 years, union laborer up here out of San Jose. I forget the local is, but he did that for 30 years. And he's always like, hey man, we run into operators all the time. There's, a big need in the industry. You should try taking a water class. Me being probably 21, 22 at the time, I know everything. Right. So he recommended it, and I kind of brushed it off as, water. Who wants to do that? Um, let's see. My mom, she works at a local deli in San Batista, a really small town just south of me, and she had a lot of frequent customers that were operators that would be heading in for work in the morning, grabbing their lunches, and would say, "Hey, do you know anybody who's young, willing to work, wants to learn, and check out water? We have a need in the industry for water workers." So this is all around 2011, 2012, and yeah, I just finally came up, got tired of working in the warehouse, got tired of doing that job, and I figured if I want to advance myself, find a career, a job that isn't just a job but a career, what do I have to lose, right? So I registered for a class at Gavilan College. It was after hours, like adult education class. So it was really just for contact hours, basically a group setting Ken Curry class. And yeah, it ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made.
Wow.
I talked to one of the counselors and I was like, "Hey, I don't want to commit, the however much money it was to the whole class. Do you mind if I just pay for a one class session for the 3 CEUs, and I'll see, see how I feel about it, and if I want to continue with it." I took that one class and it just fascinated me, just blew my mind.
Wow.
Everyone just turns on the tap and just thinks, the water's supposed to be there. But when you look at the bigger picture, right, and you don't know it when you're ignorant to it or just unaware, it's mind blowing. Whether it's treatment, whether it's groundwater, all the work and all the hours of everybody puts in to ensure that we all have drinking water, potable water, safe water, and even as I've progressed throughout my career and spent some time on the sewer side of utilities. All the work that goes into making sure that your sewers work effectively, right?
Mm.
We use the restroom, we flush the toilet, we
Yep.
don't ever think about it if everything goes right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where that started. As far as everything from there, I ended up getting my T1 first. Um, Fortunately, that tile company, the manufacturing facility, was in Aromas, California, which is a really, really small town. People call it village, literally a one stop sign town or two stop sign town. So there they have their own small water district. Was able to volunteer there. So I was able to volunteer there for about 3 months before my hours elapsed. But really, gave me a hands-on, the hands-on experience I kind of needed. Got to see what operations look like, especially on a smaller scale like that. There's probably about 6 to 7 reservoirs, I believe, and 2 wells, 3 wells, 3 or 4 wells, I think, within their system. So a lot more smaller, a lot more intimate. But it's the next town over from where I grew up, so it meant a lot to work there. I have a lot of friends whose families are from there, so um, they gave me my first opportunity, and somebody, David DeAlba, who I respect, I'm gonna give him a little shout out in Aromas because he brought me in, he showed me basically the ropes, and pretty big part of kind of nurturing the younger me and my you know my water career, utilities career, and yeah, so I ended up applying to a bunch of other places, and Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Santa Rosa, kind of everywhere, just kind of near me. And Morgan Hill interviewed me, and it worked out basically. So worked at Morgan Hill for 3 years, um, as kind of a just utility worker one, doing a little bit of everything. So for 2 years I spent on the water side, the water maintenance side. So fixing water main breaks, leaks, services, the whole thing, assisting with valve rebuilds, pretty much you name it, reservoir checks, sampling here and there, but not nearly as much. And then those first 3 years, spent 1 year doing sewer or wastewater. So, flushing, lift station checks, cleaning out and maintaining quarterly wet well, maintenance rebuilds and stuff. So, yeah, kind of put my hands on everything a little bit in the city. And then after my third year there, I was ready to kind of try to advance myself on a little further there, and ended up going to a private water company up in San Jose. So I worked there for a couple years as a system operator, specifically in water. So that was, unbelievable things I was able to learn, and the value that they gave me there with just the experience. Um, 50 plus sites that to operate via SCADA. It was a grave shift, so not much support. You had to kind of learn all your systems, all your zones. Some water's chlorinated, some water comes from groundwater, some's treated water. You know, and you're just trying to balance the reservoirs for the following morning. So, um,
Wow.
yeah, small treatment plants, like 3.5 to 5 MGD treatment plant that we would kind of go in and check on, backwash and do some of the kind of little nitty gritty tasks, especially when it's off peak hours. Um, yeah, go to intakes. Got to spend a lot of time in the Santa Cruz Mountains, which was super cool. Kind of creepy, but pretty cool. So
Creepy.
yeah, man, you go to the Santa Cruz Mountains at night, man. There's nothing out there. There's
Oh,
nothing out there,
I
just
see
you
that.
and mountain
Yeah.
lions. So, but
Sure.
definitely afforded me a whole different perspective on on water and utilities and this whole industry. So, really invaluable. Met a lot of cool people there. Definitely a lot of people who I can hear their voice at the back of my head sometimes. Just take a look at this or take a look at that. So, and then after 2 years of doing that, I got kind of tired of the grave thing. Had my oldest daughter, and work-life balance became a big deal for me. So I ended up returning to actually the city of Morgan Hill. Um, I live in Gilroy, so it's a real short commute, kind of where I cut my teeth. So it's kind of like home. Um, yeah, I came back, worked there for a couple years again, promoting into a utility worker two there. So got to lead a crew doing repairs, but as a crew lead this time. So, you know, a lot of decisions fall upon me to make in a short period of time, right? Supervisors and senior workers are depending on you out in the field to make those decisions. So, yeah, got a nice little experience doing that, and then water quality position came open. Kind of a job I kind of had always kind of looked at from a distance. Just became available, and worked to finish out the last little bit of certifications I needed to qualify for it and apply it. And I've been doing it now for a little over 4 years now as acting and in a full capacity. So, and this job itself it's very broad, but it's again given me an invaluable experience just as far as a little bit of everything. It's
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
field operations, but it's also some of the admin work as far as scheduling and you know updating chain of custodies. Staying first on regulatory compliance and all the new regulations that come out.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been about 12 years now in total, 11 years I think. I just saw the other day. So
Okay.
um,
Can can you give us an idea of the day in the life of Victor Vasquez? From the time you get to the office to the time you take off. Like, what's the breakdown of your day? Like, what are you doing?
Oh man, it can vary quite a bit, depending on the day. Again, like I said, wearing different hats kind of makes each day a little bit different. I have some pretty strict scheduled days for like usually the first day and the last day of the week are pretty much going to be the exact same, but everything in between kind of varies. So I'd say like on average Monday, come in, grab my cup of coffee, meet in, do our morning tailgate. Um, we'll all break off. I'll hop on SCADA, check SCADA, see if anything came in, if there's any alarms pending, or anything that might be affecting like our chlorine pumps. Just look at our total gallons used versus our production. Verify that our wells aren't alarming, or that the hour run times are kind of looking pretty similar. Um, take a look at our trends and just see what is going on in our system, right? Um, After that, let's say if it's like I said, like off on Monday. I'll go out to the field and do our well checks. So, it's doing well site walkthroughs, cleaning up whatever needs to be cleaned up, checking our chlorine lines, making sure everything's, looking real good, no leaks, no tears, no major issues with that. And doing our walkthroughs, like I said, walkarounds, looking for anything that might need maintenance, anything that might need corrective action. Um, if it's something I could do right then and there, if I have everything on me, I'll go ahead and take care of it right then and there on the spot, and then we'll continue on. So I'll do that for all 16 wells throughout the day. So a lot of driving, take our production numbers down at each site. So nothing too fancy. Can get kind of boring, kind of monotonous, but basically just making sure everything is working appropriately, right?
Sure.
Then typically on the back end of the day, if I have a couple hours left, we do have a lot of new construction I am the point of contact for the backflow and cross connection program. So if I can, if there's any new construction on backflow devices, I'll go out and inspect them, just verify that they're built to city standard and UPC, all the different regulatory agencies that want everything done correctly. So just, just basically making sure that they're built correctly. Um, obviously lunchtime breaks in between, all that goes without saying. But yeah, I mean, that's basically the majority of the kind of more boring days.
Yeah.
Um, Typically Wednesdays, today's like today would be like my kind of flex day. I kind of use it for admin work. Uh, Basically catch up on our water quality schedule. If I need chlorine delivery, I'll make that, schedule that in, or I'll receive on Wednesdays typically because I do have a little more time. And then as an agency as a whole, we do a lot of our meetings and trainings on Wednesdays. So we have our in-house trainings are usually Wednesday afternoons, occasionally Wednesday mornings. And that'll vary from anything, right? From safety meetings and safety trainings to, whether that's training I put on for, how to replace injector quills, or, another one of our coworkers might do, lift station maintenance training. So we do a lot of that in house, and we'll have our weekly or bi-weekly meetings. My water quality meeting, see what's coming up on our water quality schedule, see what needs to be looked at, and yeah, that's basically the ins and outs of it. Hopefully, I don't have any water quality complaints, but if I do, I'll try to make time to go meet with the residents and assure them that we're making we're doing the right thing, and try to keep people at ease. So
Yeah, yeah. The I learned when in your opener about the job versus the career. Um, I think most people go through that, and I'm a man, so I speak to men specifically. But like once we start taking life a little bit serious,
yeah,
we figure out that like these jobs that we keep getting aren't really going to get us where we want, and that career path, hopping in an industry where you can get your certs, get your your documents to say I have passed this and I can move to this level and make more money and more money and more money to be able to provide for our families, more and better. So what was that kind of switch for you? And then what do you advise to them out there who they're listening to this? They might have a job, they might even be in their career, but they're like, man, what's the next step? What should I do next?
yeah. So like I said, definitely my wife now, right, my girlfriend at the time, just knowing that, I want to have a family, I wanted to have kids one day. I know at the time I was my early 20s, but I don't know what the cost of a child is. I have three now. They're not cheap. And they don't get cheaper. They just, so um again, just knowing that, I want to be able to provide and have a family that I take care of. And, my wife is, able to go to finish up her degree and stuff before she goes and hops into, her career path. Um, you know, that's basically all the things I'd hoped for going into this, right? But um, one thing for people to kind of remember, and it's one thing that I kind of mentioned, I think when I not here in this in this space, but I remember my very first interview I had with the city of Morgan Hill. It's one thing I kind of mentioned to them. It's one thing I kind of always keep in the back of my head is um, when you interview, when you apply for a job, you're not just going against the people in your pool, right? In your applicant pool or the people you're interviewing with as well. There's a whole world of people behind us that want our jobs, or they should want our jobs, right? I mean, we have great careers, right? And it's one thing that I was kind of using the back, keep in the back of my head of, you know, if I wasn't doing this or if I wasn't here, somebody else will fill right in. So I got to maintain, a certain level of knowledge, certain level of, you know, of work ethic in order to not only place myself, in the right situations within the scope of your coworkers and your organization, but also for the next guy, right? And with that, but also knowing that if I can do anything to help the next guy, I would definitely do so. Um, I'm a big believer in like rising tides lift all boats. So much the same kind of like you're getting at. We're all trying to provide. I want everybody to be able to provide and be able to do those things. So just know that I think a lot of people in this industry are pretty competitive. I like to think that most people are, and it's a good trait to have. And you know, that's kind of one thing that keeps in the back of my head. Like I said, is just knowing that, there is time to make, to make a different career path, a different change. If you're, on the fence about, utilities or public works, uh, it's a good living. I tell people all the time, you know, you might not be the richest guy in the room, but you're going to be able to, live a good, comfortable, fulfilling life, and you get to help people every day, whether people realize that or not. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure. The different stops you made along the way after you got in the industry. You worked for that small town, the one stop sign town. Then you went over to San Jose for utility there. Then you went to the Santa Cruz Mountains. Do you feel like, or would you advise like your nephew to take a more of a roundabout route to kind of find your lane, or would you say, hey, you go to Morgan Hill, stick at Morgan Hill, and keep advancing?
um, I think more so in that career path sense, it's been really good. I mean, it's basically given me a whole different perspective from different angles. A full kind of 360-degree view of what water utilities are, or what public works are from an aspect. So, I mean, being in that small town, at the end of the day, you're always providing the best service, trying to maintain people's health, right? Like that's the number one goal of all water workers, right? That's what we're trying to get done. Um, and utility workers, sorry, like no disrespect to my wastewater folks out there too, but that's the bottom line. But I would say that being able to go to all these different stops and seeing the small town to the from a two-stop sign town to San Jose, one of the largest cities in the country, to you know and within that scope, being able to go see small towns in the Santa Cruz Mountains that they provide water for as well, and to Morgan Hill, it's a suburb. I mean, it's a big, big world up there. It's a big, big industry. I would never recommend somebody to kind of like pigeonhole themselves into one thing unless that's truly like where you're like exemplary. But at the same time, I mean, if you're young enough and you have the ambition enough to drive, you can make it work wherever. And um, yeah, if I'd recommend something, I would say just get as much information, get as much knowledge, build up your base as best you can, because it
Sure,
translates. It'll
sure.
translate everywhere eventually. So.
Yeah, yeah. Those micro skills you pick up can always be pulled out of your tool bag when you need them, in any other field. Let's talk about skill sets. So, you do what you do all day, every day. Let's say somebody's asking you, like, hey, Victor, what skill sets should I pick up to be successful at what you currently do? What would that be?
I would tell people the number one thing you could do is stay up in your regulatory compliance, man. Like read up, brush up. Like
Okay.
it means so much, like to know what's going on constantly in the water industry, in sewer industry regulations. They're always moving, right? Regulations never stay set for a long period of time. They're always fluctuating. So you got to be able to adapt. You got to be able to adapt to change on the fly. You know, and then someone else as far as skills would be just like work ethic. It's self motivation to drive. Whatever you need to motivate yourself, or that's a big one. Organization, scheduling, all those things. You know, something I've definitely brushed up on more. I mean, doing what I do, if you can I tell people all the time, man, if you can be good at Excel, that'll pay your bills alone, man. So, um, and
Oh,
then
I hate Excel. Yeah.
yeah, I was a struggle getting onto it and really getting a better grasp at it. I'm still not amazing, but a little more than serviceable, I could think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, those things are super big. I mean, and everything else. I mean, like maintenance wise, if you're mechanically sound, that's always going to help.
Yeah.
Um, having some sense of you know up from down. Like I would say common sense, right? But I
Yeah.
mean, it's that can be
Yeah.
not so common at times. But yeah, I mean, attention to detail is huge. I mean, the last thing you want to do is pull a sample and you're not thorough enough. You touch something with your glove and it transfers, and now you have something that's such a small, finite task that ends up becoming a much bigger issue, and
Yeah.
not even an actual true reflection of what's going on within the water quality side of it. So you know attention to detail is huge. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot. Communication, anywhere you go, communication's big, whether that's personal communication, but doing what I do, you get complaints for different things, and it's a lot of times it's not even water quality related, or it's not even on the public side. It's what water filter should I buy for my home?
Yeah.
So just being able to interact with people and communicate with them. Hey, you know,
Yeah.
kind of can't really answer that. Do you have a question about the public works side? Not to you, I'm saying in that
Yeah. Yeah.
capacity, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, just being able to kind of be personable and be flexible. attention to detail. So.
Okay. Okay. What was one of those moments where like it could have been this year, could have been 5 years ago, where you're like, man, I'm actually in my big boy job, in this big boy career doing like big boy life. I think as men, we always have those moments of like, oh, I'm actually on the path, whether we like think of our uncle or dad, like, and how they got to where they're at and like, man, we're on the way. Like, what was one of those moments?
Oh man. Yeah, there's probably been different moments within within I would say like my work life and within my my personal life.
Mhm.
My personal life, it's just been being able to see my wife go back to school, right?
Mm,
Like, and know that I got us, right? I'm able to
yeah.
take care and provide. Like, that's like, oh man, that's huge.
Oof.
Um, to be able to support my wife and her endeavors, right, and be able to
Yeah.
support my family still, and not really miss a beat. So,
Yeah.
that's super fulfilling, right? And then I think more on the work side is just how often I have like even my supervisors come up to me and ask me for, hey, do you remember what this is? Or hey, can I have do you remember what that is? Or
Yeah.
and some of the autonomy that they give me within operating our system, so it's gonna be like, oh wow, like these guys really trust me making these decisions,
Mhm.
and starting off as somebody who basically grew up in this industry with a shovel in their hand to now advising how we operate our distribution system and making changes and upgrades into our system, and whose opinion
Yeah.
is being valued in that
Yeah.
aspect. It's eye opening, right? It just goes to show how much you've picked up over your career. So
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for answering that. Um, the you talked about like learning about the legislation that might come down from the state or federal, like how to treat water, make sure it's clean and clear and all that stuff. Like, what would you advise to somebody in your position? Like, you're working every day, you're doing actual things and stuff, you're out in your truck. Like, how do you a carve away time to learn, and then b, like, what are some of the actionable things that you do, whether it's a magazine, a conference, YouTube videos, to be able to keep up with new processes and efficient tasks to be able to make sure you operate better?
so one thing for me personally is like I enjoy reading. I really do. My wife would tell you I don't, but I really do enjoy reading. The thing is, I don't really enjoy reading like fiction or like actual like literature books. Um, what I actually enjoy reading is like things, or I guess we not nonfiction, but like things that make me learn something, right? Things that actually make my brain really have to like remember something and really apply itself. You know, yeah, so like, I'll see something flash across my screen, whether it's an email from the state or whether it's, an AWWA email, or, various all these different emails, right, that come in, EPA, whether it's the board. Um, Anytime something that comes in, it's just always worth it for me to put my time into that. Whether that's 5 minutes out in the field, I got an email, my phone rings and or buzzes, right? And I take a look at it, or whether it's I'm in the office doing office work. I'm already filing something anyway. I'm already sitting there. Why not spend the 5 minutes? And it's kind of one of those things that I look at and think it's kind of my way of being able to kind of try to like prove yourself, right? Like my boss might come to me and be like, "Hey, did you see that email?" Like, "Oh yeah, I read it already." "Oh, you did? Oh, what's that about?" And be able to explain to them, "Oh, this, the third," and it doesn't actually really affect you know, our organization, or this might, this is actually moving some of the goalposts for us, and now we're gonna have to adapt to that. So, for me, it's just kind of that aspect of being able to kind of
Sure.
not really,
You're
like
up
show
on it.
off, or yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, but
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
like prove like, hey, I'm like I said, as somebody who grew up with a shovel in their hand,
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
Like,
like
I
I have a
got
little
this,
chip on my
man.
shoulder. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
get it. I get it. Same way, bro. Same way. All right, it's story time. And we talked about a couple of the highlights. Now we got to talk about the other side. So it's story time. I need a story from Victor when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Oh man, um, yeah, I would say in like something that's happened in the past that has been able to kind of correlate into something
Yeah,
now, or
yeah. I asked this question because we all go through adversity.
oh
There's
yeah,
probably something that happened, whether it's at Morgan Hill, in the San Jose, or wherever. There's some type of adversity you went through that somebody else might be going through right now. If they could hear your
exactly.
story and that you're still
Yeah,
on 2 feet and still operating, it's going to be okay for them.
yeah, no. Oh man, there's been too many stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, I tell my kids all the time, I'd rather you fail and try than to
Mm,
not try at all, right? It's always all
mm,
about trying. It's all about having failures, accepting it, and learning from it, right? So, like one of the things that would happen a lot when I was in San Jose was, man, our SCADA system had horrible communications, right? So, we'd be filling reservoirs up, and with some of our boosters or well sites, and they run, man, and that thing would just die on you. So you'd have like 15 sites with tank levels that are, really, really tight to the top. What do you do, right? So, you got to learn how to prioritize, man. That's one thing that really has helped me, even within the scope of Morgan Hill. Like, we operate all utilities when you're on standby. I've done a bunch of storms, and things don't go well. Some of the things you don't have any control over, right? We don't. At one time, our sewer system, was ran to capacity basically. So, like, how do you, as an operator, accept the fact that you can only do so much, right? So, I mean, you have to realize what you can prioritize, what you can put number one, and then work your way down. Yeah, if that's something that works. As far as like massive, massive failures, within the scope of my job, I would say just, you know, I've missed samples. I've made mistakes on, referring to that, but I'm always able to take accountability for my actions, redevelop a new schedule, go over my processes, and take that extra attention to detail, take that extra time. So something small like that, if we can make it up on, the next week or the next day, we'll go with
yeah,
that. But
yeah,
um yeah, there's growing pains within any job, within any industry. So the biggest thing is to try to, make those mistakes, but then grow from them, right? So having supportive supervisors and staff around you is always, a big bonus to feel comfortable making mistakes, right? So
sure.
and yeah, so small things, big things,
Yeah.
different things. So
I would say the natural, I guess, knee-jerk reaction to the public when they hear about like public works or utilities, they're like, oh, that's the government. They're just, we don't know what they do, therefore we don't really like them because they're always in the way, or like, again, kind of like they don't respect the work that is put in.
yeah.
Why do you think that is? And then also, like, I like to ask the question in the regards of getting more youngsters into the industry and changing that perception so they're not always flocking towards tech or like crypto or like being TikTok dancers, but they can get into water or streets or something. So how can we change that public persona to be able to backfill when guys like Victor leave?
Um, One of the things that's been really big for me is basically being able to go out in the field and talk to people, right, and communicate with people. So one of the, like, my favorite parts of my job is being able to be the point of contact, whether that's for a water quality issue or is it like a pressure issue, right? We have a lot of regulators they file over time, whether that's just being able to show up, show face, and be able to educate people in a more intimate setting, right? So even something like this would probably go a long way in kind of humanizing us a little bit more. Um, like, as far as like younger folks, trying to get in, I know it's not, like I said, it's not, might not be the coolest gig, right? I mean, I joke around with other operators that, like, you know, I think very few of us grew up dreaming of being like, utility workers, public works, public servants in that capacity, in this capacity, right? Everyone wanted to be a police officer, everyone wanted to be a firefighter, everyone wanted to be, for me, it was, Barry Bonds or Steve Young, right? Everybody wanted to be, the star quarterback, right? Doesn't work out that way, right? Obviously, we all know that too well. But like I said, the best thing I tell people is it affords you a great career, benefits, pension, things that young people don't think about that pay dividends later on in life, right? So um, if you take more of a long-term, wider, perspective on things, you'll it's work, it's difficult, it's not something I think everybody's cut out for, but it's definitely fulfilling. It definitely, for me, it scratches that itch. I grew up wanting to be a firefighter, so I wanted to grow up wanting to save people and help people and do all that stuff. And I kind of do. I get to help
Yeah,
people every day, whether they realize it or not. And that
totally.
kind of ties back into that first part of the question of why do people not perceive that this industry is so much more so much more important than what the perception is, right? And there's this quote from the show Futurama, if you're familiar with it. It's a Matt Groening cartoon, and one of the episodes at the very end, uh, one of the characters is told by like a big space dust cloud right at the end, and he says something along the lines of, "When you do something right, it's like people don't even know you did anything at all." or don't even know you did something.
Yeah.
So basically,
Yeah.
that's basically our industry. If everything goes well, you never hear from us. You never hear about it. And if something goes wrong, it's the very first thing that you'll hear about is when
Yeah.
something goes wrong. So, um, I think overall there is, it's never a. I mean, industries, organizations do a better job nowadays than they did before. But I mean, as far as putting it out there of, hey, you know, so and so saved, X amount of gallons by making this one change,
Yeah.
everybody's winning because of it, rather than, oh, you know, hydrant was hit and water went everywhere, but that's it. That's all you hear, right? You don't hear about, oh, but
Yep.
within the following day it was all, repaired,
Yep.
or,
Yep.
nobody
Yeah.
celebrates the toilet flushing.
I no,
Nobody
and
claps at the end, but
yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I started the show was when I started working with you guys, I realized that like, oh, this work is like frontline essential. It's what they say during COVID, like non-essential. Like what? Like this is essential work. And I said, well, nobody's telling their stories. I'm a firm believer that if I can personalize the people in the industry and just let the people like again, let's say Morgan Hill, Gilroy, San Jose, wherever, if they can know that like some of the guys who are in those orange vests live next door to them or live down the road and their kids go to the same schools, they're invited to the same birthday parties, they'll go, oh, maybe I'll slow down in the cone zone. Or maybe like when I see a water break, I won't just put it on Facebook and I'll actually call the number to the city.
yeah, that's a crazy one, right? How many times I've responded to something? How long has it been leaking for? 12 hours, 2 days. You're all. But no, for sure. I mean, I know pretty much industry wide, all the people I know within our industry, everybody was pretty much working. I know there's optional work stuff going on, but different places. But I mean, I never stopped working. Um, yeah, I mean, we're a lot more essential than what people realize. At the end of the day, that's kind of one of the things I think everybody has to kind of keep in mind within our industry too, is like we are essential, value what we do, go that extra mile if you can, because we are essential. We need to put our best foot forward because again, like we said, our interactions are few and far between with the public. Even though we're always in their view,
Right.
our interactions though are few and far between. And, I know everybody, I tell people, I know we can be an inconvenience. Nobody wants to have to shut a road down or, stop water service for a period of time. But at the end of the day, the sooner we can get this done and repaired, the sooner everything goes back to normal. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's funny that you said about slow for the cone zone because ever since I got in the industry, I told my mom that a long time ago, and she's always like, "I always think it could be you. It could be you out there."
Mm.
So
Yeah, she associated with the human. It's like, oh, that could be my uncle, nephew, niece, son, whoever. So there's a guy that told me on the podcast. He says we put on the orange vest to be more visible, but essentially it makes us feel invisible.
yeah,
Like
it's really
people,
profound.
yeah, they put their head down and walk right by because oh, it's just an orange shirt guy, or you're in the middle of the street and they're just trying to get to where they want to get with their Starbucks, and it's like, no, these are humans. They're doing essential work. Like, at least say what's up. You don't have to hold a conversation, but just be like, hey, man, thanks for what you do.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I'm sure, everybody probably agree with this, the people that do realize and, thank you or, drop off a cold water bottle when you're working, even if you have a bunch of water, but, just that little small gesture, right? Little kids who, we drive by that look at us and are like, oh, hey, like my son, he's 2, he loves the garbage man. The garbage man goes by, sees them, he drops
Mine
off
too.
t-shirts. So, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, maybe that's something that we could, look as a tool to kind of influence the next generation of
Yeah.
of public works workers.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've always thought of is that when you said fire, PD, and all that, like kids are attracted to uniforms. I feel selfishly, personally, that if we had everybody in our industry wear a uniform, it could be like a badge or a jumpsuit with some chevrons on the back, something that distinctly told apart just an average construction guy versus like a municipal utility worker. That will start to get more, I would say, brand recognition because kids know what firefighters look like. They know what policemen, like astronauts, doctors, like there's
Yeah,
a uniform for all that. So if utility workers, public workers had a uniform, that'll set them apart.
to get more standardized across the industry.
Yeah, yeah, for
Because
sure.
yeah, I mean, there's places I've worked with, whatever color t-shirt is required, blue
Yeah.
jeans, right? And like here
Mm,
for the city, we wear like they're basically like oil workers, like
yeah.
like gas, not oil, but like gas delivery drivers. We have the blue tops, the
Okay.
light blue top, the navy
Yeah.
bottom,
Yeah.
like the petroleum based kind of
Yeah.
uniform, if you will. Um, and that's cool too. But yeah, I mean, there's some places where black, some places where orange.
Yeah.
I can, maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto
Yeah.
something. Maybe a standardized
Yeah.
uniform. Say, hey, that's the public works guy.
Yeah, or also a name and number on the back, like Vasquez, number 22, right? Then
Yeah.
you'll be like, I gotta actually do things because like Vasquez is out there operating.
Whenever we collaborate with other cities, we'll do a jersey swap.
Yeah,
You take mine, I'll take yours.
I love it, man. I love it.
Not sure how happy the agencies would be with that, but
I know. The budget goes through the roof. What would you say is the biggest misconception about what you do? Like, let's say you're at a dinner party, and the question always comes up. So, Victor, what do you do? And you tell them you're a water quality specialist for the city of Morgan Hill. What do you think they think you do?
It's actually been pretty nice having that little bit of a water cooler specialist kind of title to it. People are always
Yeah.
like, "Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting." And then they ask always, what is that, right? What is that?
Yeah.
So basically, I just like to, say basically all the water quality I'm responsible for in some aspect, right? We're all responsible for it, but I have to basically sign off on it. So, that's kind of the way I just describe it. Now I feel like people look at it a little more prestige because it has been, a couple of years, and obviously job title changes. But when I started as a utility worker, they're like, "Oh, what do you do? You're a laborer? Oh, you just dig all day?" Like, oh, there's more to it than that. Like that is part of the process, And even if I was a laborer, like, there's no shame in that. I'm not, stealing money from people. I'm not,
Right.
I'm, I'm making an honest living. So, and that's definitely something I've seen within, my little sphere. My wife, most of her family works like tech and stuff. So, being more of a blue collar guy, nothing necessarily bad, but it's just always kind of like, oh, he works all day out in the sun.
Yeah.
I'm on hybrid. I work half the time, so not half the time, but you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
I mean, but no, at the end of the day, I think, a lot of the people around me, they all come from blue collar. At the end of the day, my wife's dad was a laborer, so a lot of people don't really perceive it too bad, but I think for sure it can be just kind of looked at as like, it's only labor, or it's only, city workers want to just park and sit down all day, and or they don't do much. But if they only had a better idea of what we did every day, they would understand. So
for sure. One thing that is I'm biased about is focusing on the aging workforce of our industry. A lot of people focus on the aging infrastructure, like the pipes that are two times past their half-life and all the old equipment, and like just how everything's crumbling in America. I focus on the aging, workforce, those who've been in the industry for 20, 30 years, and they're staring down retirement. They're itching to get out of there. And, we talked about getting the new generation in. What have you seen that has worked to be able to get the information from them to, young, 26-year-old Victor, who's trying to soak up everything, but still is trying to do life also?
Yeah. So one of the things that I've kind of experienced and seen is like, especially with the city for so long, right? I've been at the city for almost a decade now in total time. So from the time that I started to the time now, right? There's been probably 7, 8 guys that retired that I know of, or have left for other agencies, but took a lot of information with them. Long tenured employees. Excuse me. And for me, one of the biggest things is just asking questions, man. Trying to be a sponge, show up. Like, that's huge. Like, I tell a lot of new guys, like, when I started, I had no kids. I was in my early 20s, right? As energized and as excited as can be. So, basically for my first 3 years, I would say I was on like 90-95% of call outs after hours. All out. Yeah. I mean, and quite a few guys that got in the industry around the same time as me, guys that I really respect, my coworkers, and some of the better younger guys than me, the guys who are really picking up the industry, picking up the knowledge. We get pigeonholed into our daily jobs, not just here, but also, when I worked at a larger agency in San Jose, I mean, you had one job only. System operator Victor couldn't make a repair in the field because that's a mechanic's job. So you create a work tag for it, and they go and do it. Yeah. So like, you get pigeonholed into just what you do, right? You get forced into that little pegboard. Where standbys for us, and I would expect probably most municipal agencies, are your time to learn. You do something different there. So when I was out doing, water leaks when I first started, I get called for a sewer call. So we'd be flushing to breaking the plug, all the cleanup afterwards. You know, I had, newer or older workers telling newer guys, come over here and help me do this SSO report. Nobody likes doing SSO reports. When you do enough of them, they become like anything else.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like eating your vegetables. You don't like to do it, but you're going to do it, right? So, in that aspect, I've been pretty lucky to have a lot of knowledgeable folks around me that I can learn from and glean things from. But also, like, you got to just show up and you got to ask questions. You got to be ready to work, and it's kind of part of the whole thing. Like the work ethic ties into it. Like I said, I mean, anybody can do it really, but to really set yourself apart, you got to have that drive and that want to learn more. Whether it's book knowledge, which is awesome, right, and in a classroom setting knowledge, there's
yeah,
also a big part of it that's just field knowledge, right? You go see it. I mean, obviously we all have standards. There's always a big push for standards, but sometimes like it just you have to be able to think creatively around that. So
sure.
that just comes from experience. So that's one thing I think for newer employees, young guys, I recommend like show up, dude. Show up after hours. That's like the biggest thing
Yeah.
because you're gonna end up probably doing something different. I mean, just the other day, well, one of our new guys, first day on standby, ended up having a issue at one of the well sites. It was just the power outage in the area, but it came in real briefly. It happened to be during the time that one of our well sites kicked on, and he's a new. What is this? What is this? What does this mean, Victor? I know you worked in SCADA for as an operator. Like, you're well versed in that. So that kind of that. Oh, I made it moments, right? I'm
Yeah.
now one of the older guys. The new guys asked like,
Like
"Hey,
I
what does
got
this mean?"
you. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically I was like, "Hey, I'll meet you in the field. I'll meet you at the site. Let's go."
Yeah.
Like I could have given the short answer and just explain to him over the phone, what he needed to do. But I was like, you know what, let me go out to the site. We'll do a little more intimate walkthrough.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too, is having, guys who are more experienced that are willing to take the time,
Yeah.
to show
He'll
you and
remember that
explain things to
forever.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, man. I mean, that guy was super grateful about it. And,
Yeah.
that said, like, not that, all new guys, all new people, right? You're always kind of just building relationships, right? So
Yep.
I have 10-year established relationships with people. I have 8-year relationships with people, but maybe me and this guy have a 6-month relationship.
Yeah.
And we don't, the guy that I worked with for 10 years, we were in holes together, we're digging out holes together and stuff and,
Yeah.
making repairs together. You know, the equity's not quite there, right? But this
Hmm.
is how you establish that equity, right? It's how you keep
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
around longer than, if somebody hates their coworkers, they're not going to last very long, even if they're good workers though, like, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's creating that family bond, passing off that knowledge. As far as maintaining the knowledge that, people have passed on to me, it's just kind of sharing the knowledge that they've passed, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of one of the things that, again, shout out David Dalbo and Romus. He told me when I was a volunteer there, when I left, he said, make me a promise, as long as you do this, always help out the next guy, because
Mm.
the industry's not easy. It's not easy to get into. Maybe it's a little easier now than what it was at the time, but with now the demand for employees always going up. But he was saying that, we didn't owe it to you for you to come in here and us to teach you. It helps when you ask questions. It helps when
Yeah.
it shows that you're anxious to learn, but we don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
It goes, but if you see somebody that needs help, give them a hand, because we all need a hand, especially starting off,
Yeah.
so he always kind of told me that, promise me you'll always pass the buck on, you'll always pass the knowledge on. So it's one thing I
Yeah.
hold near and dear to my heart within my career. I have a little thing that I like to do for every new employee we get. If they don't have any certs, I'll go print out the application form for them. I've been
Mm.
doing it for a couple of years, just like,
Yeah.
I don't even know you, even I talked
Yeah.
to me 3 times,
Yeah.
but like,
There you
you
go,
ever,
baby. Yeah. Get your start. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
do you have your certs? No. Well, you need a D1 to keep your job in a year. You know what I mean? So like,
That's
here
what's
you
up.
go.
Yeah.
Like, if you're really
Yeah.
about it, I can tell people all the time, with water quality, right? I could lead you to water. I can't make you drink it, but I could lead you there.
For
So,
sure. For
but
sure.
yeah, so that's kind of like little things that I've noticed have kind of helped out. So
For sure. For sure. All right. Let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard. This billboard is in the most trafficked area of Morgan Hill, probably right up there off the 101. Uh,
yeah,
what ask of your community would you put on this billboard in regards to water quality?
the one billboard I would tell everybody: don't put your filters in the first point of entry, please. Don't do that to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
Explain.
because too often have I seen people put carbon filters and stuff, and it comes up as a water quality complaint. Carbon filter, full water filter, they put it at the first point of entry into the home,
Yeah. Yeah.
strips out all their chlorine,
Yeah.
water sits, they go on vacation, comes back, it's all funky, right?
Okay.
Then it's a call for me. So if I
Yeah.
could, like, not that I don't mind the calls. I mean, trust me, I love educating people, but
Yeah.
if I could just tell people, because even my buddy just got a new house, and it's an older home, it's his new house, right? But
Yeah.
older home, and he's like, "Hey man, I want to get a full water filtration system and all this." And I'm like, "Where are you gonna put it?" He's all, "The garage." I was like,
Yeah.
"Put it where you need it, man. Put it where you need it." So there's something
Really?
simple for water quality. I mean, that's one thing I see people do all the time, right? We
Gotcha.
ensure it. We ensure the water quality is maintained until it gets into your home. What you do with it is on
Yeah.
you. So
All right. I love it. All right. Let's say I'm coming to town and I text you ahead of time. I say, Victor, where can I go to get the best burger in Morgan Hill? Where are you going to send me?
that's going to be a tough one, man. There's two places that come to mind. They're both different style burgers. So, one of them probably I'd say AJ's Cheesesteaks in Morgan Hill. It's off of, I want to say it's off of 3rd Street or 2nd Street, one of the two,
Okay.
off the Monterey. Yeah, they do kind of like those big loaded everything on it, bacon, cheese, blue cheese, whatever
Yeah.
you want, right? Anything, sausages, you want to hot link on it, they throw that on if they ask for it. So kind of one of those type of places. Pretty good. Big old grease bomb.
Yeah.
Don't want to have them too often, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be Henry's Donuts. It's a donut
Okay.
shop over off of it's right off of Tenet. If you make a left on the Monterey head
They
south.
got burgers in the donut shop?
Yeah, dude. But check this out. They're like the old school diner, like flat top.
Yeah.
Like kind of you could tell it's like preformed patty, but
Yeah.
it's just a vintage diner style burger that just doesn't miss. And they've been doing it for, let's see, I'm 34. The old one was in Gilroy. They were doing it there too. So they've been doing it
Yeah.
at least for 30 years.
Nice.
Longer,
Nice.
so.
Well, yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, Victor, thanks for hopping on the podcast today. Thanks for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Victor, any final words before we get out of here?
Yeah, just real quick, I'll share something with everybody. I had diagnosed with lymphoma about March of this year. Gone through the whole process. Been back at work for 3 weeks. Just want to give a PSA to everybody. Like, if something's not right with your body, you don't feel right, something doesn't look right, just go get it looked at, man. Go get it checked out. Fortunately for me, it was real early, so I was able to kind of power through the process. From March, and we'll be in the end of July, about to be in August here, and everything's kind of coming back to normal for me. So, yeah, just one thing, take care of health. Health is wealth. Especially in our industry, right? We all want to reach retirement and enjoy the fruits of that. So, yeah, just that'd be my quick little snippet. So
sure, man. I appreciate you for sharing that. Yeah. No, thank you for doing that. All right. Well, Victor, once again, thanks for hopping on the podcast. And this has been a Public Works podcast. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.